Hello, and welcome to this edition of People in Transition. I'm your host, Bob Durst. I've been hiring, firing, and mentoring executives, frontline employees, interns, and job seekers in companies around the world through a host of transitions, some difficult, but most very good. I work with people in Hong Kong, India, Australia, and across the United States. What sets them apart? A lot, but there's more they have in common. And one of those commonalities is transition is a part of life. This experience has given me a bird's eye view on a variety of trends, economies, industry disruptors, and transitions that are big and small. It also brought me into contact with the thought leaders and decision makers you need to meet, the people who can make the difference that matters to you right now. Imagine knowing exactly what to do next and how to know it's time to make your big change. The insight track you're going to access during our future episodes is better than a crystal ball. It's the exact information you need to take that next step. Whether you're a new grad applying for your first professional job, someone looking to transition your work experience into a promotion, launching your own company, or maybe even starting to plan your retirement, you're in transition, and this series is for you. We all know transition can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. And it's even fun when you have VIP access to the future you want. Are you tired of the uncertainty of being passed up? We'll share with you the tools and skills that can take your dreams to the front of the line. So, if change is on your horizon, or maybe just the thought of change, you won't want to miss this discussion. It could be the exact edge you need to turn transition into an amazing opportunity.
Cher, thank you so much for being on this week's episode of People in Transition. I'm so excited about having the chance to speak with you.
Yeah, hi Bob. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm very excited for this podcast.
Cher, here's a person that born, raised in Germany, spent time in Shanghai, did an undergraduate and bought a one-way ticket to Hong Kong, backpacked around the country, got an MBA, started their own business. Talk about someone who has gone through transition. Cher, if you could summarize your perspective in terms of what transition is all about, how would you speak to it?
Yeah, thank you for the question. The way I would summarize is just really pivoting your career. For example, if I look at the background that I'm having, so I had an MBA, I had a business degree, and my dream when I was younger was to work in multinational companies in the big corporate world, climbing up the corporate ladder. And then basically through backpacking through Southeast Asia, I've noticed that I don't want to have this anymore. And that was basically my transitioning. So I quit my job about 4 months ago, and now I'm transitioning into being an entrepreneur and building up something on my own as a career coach. So really like pivoting your career in a different direction.
I'm so pleased that we caught up with you because talk about a world traveler, we're speaking to you as you're sitting in your home in Hong Kong and someone that has really a global perspective. Do you think that transitioning between jobs is different someplace around the world, or are the same challenges whether you're in Hong Kong or Chicago or Seattle or Germany?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, it's all the same. It doesn't matter if you are based in Chicago, Seattle, Germany, Hong Kong, Shanghai, or Taiwan. As human beings, we all feel fear when we are transitioning. And that's totally normal because you are doing a work or doing your job, or you've been in a career that you've been known for many years. And then all of a sudden to transition to something new, it's scary. And I believe everyone feels the same way. It really doesn't matter where you're based at.
What does it mean when someone says, you need to take charge of your own career? What does that mean to you?
For me, it really means to know what you want. So I just give you an example. I've seen so many young, talented professionals. They're very smart and intelligent. These are the words they said to me. I hate my job. I feel unfulfilled and unhappy in my job. And so when I asked them, okay, so I get it. You hate it. And not just for a week, you hate it for several years. So what are you going to do about that? Well, I don't know. And this is what I tell them. If you don't know, then who should know that? I don't believe your manager is coming to you and give you something better unless you ask for that. And this is what I mean with you need to be in charge of your own career. If you know that you are unhappy about something, if you know you are unfulfilled, then you are responsible for your own career and for your own life to make it better.
Pincher, how do you know when it's time to quit your job, when it's run its course?
I say you feel it in your stomach somehow. Like when you have Sunday night blues almost every week, you dread it to go to office on a Monday morning. You feel like it's a pain in the, you feel it's a pain when you're sitting in your office in your 9 to 5 cubicle job. You just feel you don't have passion. You feel you're unhappy. You can't get excited at all about the task you're doing. You're feeling disengaged. You resent your coworkers. You resent your manager or your boss or the upper managers. You just feel it's draining your energy at the end of the day or at the end of the week or at the end of the month. I get it that maybe you have a stressful week and you feel it's depleting your energy. But if it goes on for a longer period, let's say 6 months, then it's time to go. It's time to leave that company or it's time to leave that current role. This is at least how I knew it. And for many other people that I've spoken to.
What areas do you see people struggle with the most during their own job transitions?
I think the biggest struggle for them are fear of judgment and fear of the unknown. From my observation, it's the fear of the unknown. I get that a lot. I'm like, they're like, well, I've been in my career for at least 2 to 3 years. And I know my job. I know how to practice law. I know how to be an engineer. But when I ask them, but do you enjoy it? Do you like it? Do you feel passionate about that? No, but that was my major. I studied that. And I don't know what's next if I quit my job. So it's the fear of the unknown. They don't know what's on the other side, basically. Some of them think it's even worse than what they're having now because that's their comfort zone. So I would really say it's the fear of the unknown and the fear of judgment, not knowing what their friends, their colleagues, and their family will say to them, and maybe even looking down on them.
So you talk about fear of changing jobs. What would you say is the best way to help deal with that fear?
Really, first of all, to acknowledge that it's perfectly normal to experience fear because it's something new. Maybe it's a challenge. So first of all, to really acknowledge that yes, I experiencing fear right now. I feel the fear. And the second thing is that really helped me was to journal it down, to really journal what the fear is all about, because the fear comes from somewhere, and to really dig deep on where does it come from. So first of all, to accept that and to acknowledge that yes, I'm experiencing fear. And the second thing is to journal it. And the third one that really, really helped me, because I also experienced fear when I was doing my own transition. I was buying the book from the author called Suzanne Jeffers. So she has a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Wow, that book was a key major takeaway for me. It was just wow. So it's about feel the fear and do it anyway. And asking yourself some questions such as, okay, if I stay in my current role, will I grow? Will I change? Will my life be better? And the second question is, really, what's the worst thing that can happen? And when I asked myself these questions, I was more courageous of taking the leap of faith.
Do you ask yourself those questions alone? Do you ask it with a friend or family member? Do you ask it with a coach? What is your suggestion in terms of that very deep dive that you're talking about?
I suggest having a coach, because a coach is someone who is non-judgmental. They are giving you a safe space to explore. They know what they're doing because they're guiding you into the right direction to your deepest desire and living according to your values. So they will guide you and they will ask these right questions. So I was having my own career coach because I was stuck and lost myself. I didn't know what to do. Like my own fear hold me back and my own anxieties hold me back. So having a coach and to really having that accountability with her and every week telling her about my fears and my anxieties, she really helped me to overcome that. And because of her, I was buying the book from Suzanne Jeffers, Fear the Fear and Do It Anyway. So my own strong suggestion is to get a coach because they know what they're doing. They're trained professionals.
And sure, I've had other guests talk about the power of journaling that you just mentioned. I have to tell you that when I went out and I bought this beautiful journal and I had a great pen, and I sat down and I looked at that blank piece of paper and I froze up and I could not journal. Any suggestions in terms of how to use that tool to help in this process?
I think journaling helped me and some other people, but I also understand it doesn't help everyone. Everyone has their own approach. So if some of the listeners think or feel that journaling is not really for me, that's totally fine. They don't have to force that. There are other ways, such as meditation as well. Like really sitting down in the morning or in the evening for 10 minutes, relaxing, listening to some relaxing music and asking yourself some questions. That's also fun because this is also what I do. So I'm doing journaling and meditation. So for the listeners who think like, hey, journaling is not for me, I don't really like it, like nothing comes out that I can write on a piece of paper, that's fine. Meditation or going out in nature also does its work.
Many years ago, my position was eliminated. And after that happened, I remember thinking, oh my, they found me out. Even though I'd had 30 some years of a successful career and managed hundreds and thousands of people, in my head, I was telling myself they found me out. I was too old. I wasn't technology savvy enough. I was too slow, didn't catch on quick enough, didn't understand the political games, said all of those things. How do you coach your clients to deal with that imposter syndrome?
It's a good question. It's always about the mindset. I was laid off as well in my previous job. I said to myself, well, what else can I do? I've been in this industry for 8 years. Like who will hire me in a different industry? I'm not experienced in that. So, but that was a lie that I was telling myself. To the audience who are listening to this podcast, if you're telling yourself you are too old or you're too young, you're not experienced enough, or you are not skillful enough, it's a mindset thing that I always say it starts with that. What is the story that you're telling yourself? So for example, again, I'm too inexperienced to be a coach, like to be a career coach right now. But then I asked myself, okay, what can I do? And I was taking up some courses in coaching. So what I would say is, okay, if you think you are not skillful enough or you're not experienced enough, then what can you do? Like always thinking in a solution oriented way. For example, if you're practicing law and you want to practice yoga, for example, you want to be a yoga teacher. I had a client of mine who was a lawyer and now wants to practice yoga. And she said to herself, well, I'm practicing law for so many years. How can I be a yoga teacher? She took on some courses. She was practicing yoga on a volunteer basis with other people who were interested in that. So she accumulated all the experiences and she felt more confident in that she could actually be a yoga teacher. And up to this date, she is a yoga teacher. So it starts with the mindset. And if you really think you're not experienced enough, or you're not skillful enough, you can do something to be more experienced and to be more skillful.
Pincher, how do I stop feeling guilty that I'm looking for a new job or that I've left my job and my friends and what I knew and had been doing for years? How do I stop that guilt feeling about that?
First of all, I would say, what's the reason that you feel guilty? That you want to pursue a career that makes you happy, that you are living up to your own values, that it's more true to yourself, that it's more of a match to your personality. Like that would be the first question that I would ask the person. Like, why do you feel guilty living up to your happiness? That's really the main question that I would ask them. And when I ask them, they'll be like, oh yeah, I've never seen it from that perspective.
What if I make a mistake and change to a job that's even worse than that job I just left? What do I do then?
Yeah, when you decide to quit your career and you pursue another career that you found out to be worse than your previous career, it's also fine. We as people, we are exploring. It's a lifelong journey. So if you caught up in a career that you actually don't like, that you even resent even more than your previous career, then pivot again. Yeah, pivot again until you find the work or the career that's really making you feel excited to go to work. No one benefits from being stuck in a working place where you are feeling miserable. Not your employer is benefiting from that, and you definitely will not benefit from that. And your family and friends, because they can feel when you're unhappy and feeling miserable. So I would say really pivot again until you find the work that you love, that you are feeling inspired and engaged and motivated to go to work to.
Pincher, do you think there's a minimum amount of time, though, that you should be in that new job before you try your next pivot?
Yeah, I say 6 months. I think after 6 months, you would know whether it's the right environment you want to work in, whether it's the right boss that you want to work for, and whether it's really the task that you feel engaged with. So I say 6 months. It took me 6 months to know, nah, that's not the right environment where I want to work and where I want to thrive. And it's not the right boss that I want to work for. It took me 6 months to realize that. If you give yourself only a month, I would say that's too rushed and that's too fast. And you're not giving the company the chance to make you thrive.
And then if I decide to change and I want to be smarter about my next job that I take, and I've decided that what I didn't do was spend enough time understanding that company's environment and culture and values, how do you coach your clients to find out about that in that next potential employer?
So there's a saying, people don't leave companies, people leave their managers or they leave their bosses. So in my last coaching session with one of my clients, so she's also transitioning right now. And she asked me the same question. So how do I know whether my boss is a good boss that I can get along with, that he is acting according to my values, which is honesty, transparency, and just being real and being supportive. And I said to her, you can say what your values are and whether the hiring manager is living up to these values and if they can give an example. Because everyone can say, yes, I live up to the values, being transparent, being honest, and being real. But as soon as someone has to elaborate and give past examples, you can actually feel in your gut whether it's a manager or a hiring manager or your boss that you want to work for. So first of all, it's this, and to see at the company values, just in general. What is the culture like? if you're looking for an office environment of collaboration, teamwork, good team culture, and if you know that they're not providing it, is it something that can you live with it? So I would say company culture, the values of the manager, and whether just in general the job description just really speaks to your heart and to your soul.
What does a coach do for an individual to help them in their own job transition? Describe that to our listeners, the coach's role.
Yeah, absolutely. The role of a coach is really to guide you, to facilitate a change, to get to know, okay, what's your current reality and where do you want to be? So, what do you want from a career? How do you want to feel? And then what the coach is doing is really guiding you into the direction of your desire. So, the coach is not giving you any advices, is not giving you any suggestions, is not telling you what to do. So, the coach will not say, I think you should quit your job and to pursue a career in yoga. This is not what coaches are all about. So coaches believe that coaches have all the answers within, but some of the answers are hidden by all the clouds. And we as coaches, we try to remove the clouds so you can see really what you want, what you desire, and get over your fear, get over some limiting beliefs, and really working on the mindset so you achieve your goal. That's a very simple way to describe that.
Cher, how do you coach your clients to utilize their network to help them in their job transition?
So I have several steps. And my first step is always about awareness. And what I mean with that is what's currently blocking you from getting the life and the career you want. Like, what are the blockages? And some people don't know that. So, I'm just unhappy. Yeah, but why are you unhappy? Yeah, I'm unfulfilled. But why are you unfulfilled? Like this why. And then it's about, okay, what is the vision that you have for yourself or that you want to set for yourself? What is your mission? Like, what do you want to change in your life? A lot of people don't know that and don't have clarity. So it always starts with self-awareness and clarity. And then it starts with the values. Like when people say I'm unfulfilled, I'm stuck, it only means that you're not living up according to your values. So we explore that as well, or I explore that with my clients. So what is important to them? What really matters to you? So after they figure that out, we will go into action steps, because by that time they know what matters to them, what are their roadblocks, where are their limiting beliefs, and then they know what they want. And then I help them, well, together as a partnership, I will help them to get to their desire. For example, when they say, in 6 months, I want to be in a thriving career. I want to be a yoga teacher. I want to teach 30 people in a month. For example, that could be their goal. And I want to make sure together with the client that we will reach that. So it's about what's important to them, getting clarity, self-awareness, and then really taking action steps to reach that goal.
What would be the number one job hunting tip that you'd give to someone? If they didn't remember anything else, this is what you'd tell them about the number one job hunting tip.
First of all, get clear what you want. What is your vision of yourself? And then I would say going on LinkedIn and looking for these keywords. I just want to give a very short example on that. One of my clients said, I like personal development. I like to see people thriving. So these were the keywords: leadership development, personal development. And then really going on these job sites, monster.com. In Hong Kong, we have JobsDB, or on LinkedIn, and really type in those keywords then and apply for these jobs. Because at that point, you already know what you want. And now it is really taking actions and to look for these jobs that really speaks to your heart and soul.
Let's flip that coin over for just a moment. What's the number one derailer of someone looking for a new job? The thing that causes the train wreck for their search?
Yeah, I say applying to jobs just because it's a job. Because I'm guiding people to find their purposeful, driven careers. So I would say derailer would be just applying for jobs that does not speak to your heart, to your soul, that are not according to your values, and where you basically know that you feel stuck and lost and confused again. I would say that's a derailer for a job search. And just looking out for jobs based on fear that you don't have a job at all.
And Cher, any books or other resources that you'd recommend to our listeners that you think would be particularly helpful for someone going through their own personal transition?
Yeah, the book that I just mentioned from Susan Jeffers, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. This book really changed my perspective on fear and really helped me. And I hope it will help a lot of the people who are listening to this podcast to take the leap of faith, to get out from the fear zone into the growth zone, into the learning zone, and then going into the thriving zone. So Susan Jeffers, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. That is a book that I highly, highly recommend for people who are transitioning.
Cher, if our listeners only remember three things as they go through their own personal transition, what are those three things that you want them to take with them from our episode today?
Yeah, the three things: asking yourself why you're unhappy, why you're unfulfilled, and really sit down for like 10 to 15 minutes and think about why you're feeling unfulfilled, because that gives you a lot of clarity on what needs to change. So that would be number one. Number two is, if it's too overwhelming, getting professional help from a coach, because a coach has so many benefits. They are trained, they're professionals who are guiding you to a career and a life that you desire. So that is number two. And the third would be, feel the fear and do it anyway. And if you want to have more insights about that, I would say getting the book from Susan Jeffers, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, because it gives you so many brilliant insights on how to overcome your fear and to take the leap of faith.
Cher, you are a role model of someone who has felt the fear and done it anyway. I thank you for being with us today. I thank you for sharing your wisdom and experiences, for the coaching you gave us on so many emotional as well as tactical issues, and just being a part of our journey as each of us go through our own transitions, whether they're job or life or whatever transitions. Thank you, Cher, for being with us.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you so much for your brilliant questions, and really thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast. We're working in unprecedented times as the world responds to the recent COVID-19 crisis. The fact is that even those who are not in transition understand it could be right around the corner, next month or a year from now. The purpose of these episodes are to give listeners support and the critical tools to adjust with the winds, wherever they come. I'll continue to introduce you to guests who have successfully, perhaps gracefully or without too many battle scars, survived their own obstacle courses, and can share useful information on how to steady your ship or your world in this uncertainty. If today's message was helpful to you, please share it on social media. If you have any questions or podcast ideas for future conversations, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I appreciate your time you're investing in sharing these important conversations with me, my guests, and others who are going through life transition. Transitions between jobs, life stages, new entrepreneurial ventures, or whatever life brings. Change is constant. The more prepared you are for it, the better and easier the change will occur. Thank you again. This is your host, Bob Gerst. See you at our next episode of People in Transition.